Okay, I'm gonna try to do this fast since I don't really have much time tonight, but I just wanted to do a quick discussion of Wicked for Good. I did already do a first reaction over on my channel with my sister, talking about how we felt about the movie, some of the high points that we really enjoyed and some of the low points. And this is just me thinking about things that they could have fixed or changed to make part two work better than it does in both the play and in the movie, but especially in the movie, since we had an opportunity to extend things. And I feel like some of the things that they added could have been cut, like Girl in the Bubble for one, and also Glinda's childhood scene, since it only reiterated themes that we had already seen about her since movie one. But if they wanted to keep in a childhood scene for Glinda to pair it with Elphaba having a childhood scene, then I feel like they should have pulled from the book more, make the story work better. In the book, Glinda doesn't really come from an upper class family. So if they wanted to, and it's not really important to the story that she's from an upper class family, we see that even in the movie that she does come from a wealthy family. She wants magic and she wants to be a political force, not necessarily for good, but she just wants that power, especially in the book. And I feel like it would be stronger than just her being a spoiled child who wasn't able to do a magic trick. The opening of the movie is where we could have taken a really big opportunity, because we start with Every Day More Wicked, and I feel like instead of having it just be an opener, we use that as an opportunity to do the passage of time from Defying Gravity up until everyone hating her and more propaganda being spread about her and more suppression of the animals and the munchkins. We could have used that opportunity, Every Day More Wicked, to do that and use the building of the Yellow Brick Road to show that time progression even better, because Michelle Yeoh comes in when the Universal logo is spinning around saying 12 talks of the dragon clock or whatever has passed, and that's like a year or something has passed since the whole thing started. In the play, I believe there's more of a 5-year time skip, and I feel like that would have been even more impactful. But we should have had Fiyero leaving the school, and also like this can so easily be done in a musical number like Every Day More Wicked, of how he's getting caught up in Glinda again as he's trying to find Elphaba trying to do good deeds and help the animals, but she's just making everything worse. Like, we can see all of that in one song, and then we get to Glinda singing "A celebration will be had today." And like, this is where we can pick up with current times of maybe being a year or 5 years into the future, whichever one works best for the story. And we're preparing for Glinda's wedding rather than just having a scene of her doing sort of a flashback to, the "Glinda, you are just too good," rather than having that and the la 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 scene with her and the guard. I felt like they could have taken that out as well and gotten straight to her being, presented as a political figure and getting ready to do this surprise proposal on Fiyero. And oh, Michelle Yeoh's bad voice really stands out extra in this, when she needs to be, intimidating and commanding and, vocally good. Yeah, it stands out a lot in this, and I really don't I'm really reluctant to hear her voice on the album. Like, in Wizard and I, when she does the little talking part, it's not so bad because, it can be a talking part, but in this, you're really gonna notice it. I feel like we do this surprise engagement and we get Fiyero's feelings on how he's just joined the guard in order to, all he's there for is to find Elphaba. And we can see that Glinda has an inkling of how much he actually cares for Elphaba, but she doesn't know that it's in love type of love. I think she's probably seeing it as him caring about Elphaba the same way she cares about Elphaba, if you're not a Gelfie shipper. He says, "Can't you see that she doesn't want to be found? You're going to have to accept that." And he's like, "Makes you happy, I'll marry you." And she's like, "It'll make you happy too." And you can see that. Not really. He doesn't really answer her. And then she comes out and sings I couldn't be happier. And I feel like instead of using this scene the same way they do in the show, with her just standing there making an announcement with very little movement, I feel like they could have used this opportunity to show how things aren't going quite the way she wants. Maybe this is where they could have put in her signing off on these random documents rather than, you know, in the scene that I discussed earlier. Rather than that, they put that here where she's singing "Couldn't Be Happier" so that this moves a little bit more. That's something else that I noticed about this part of the movie. There's too much stopping and starting. There's some nice action happening, and then it stops. Maybe a few more scenes of her watching Fiyero walk out the door time and again. We don't have to put too many scenes of it in there, but you know, and she's still singing "Couldn't Be Happier." We're just getting her sadness, because they sort of do that when Elphaba is singing "No Good Deed." We get all of these flashes, not just of her seeing what's happening to Fiyero, but we also get parts of her seeing things that happened in the past. But we could do this with Glenda singing "Couldn't Be Happier" to give this scene a little bit more movement. Also in this scene, I wish they could have shown munchkins who have being oppressed, or even the animals trying to approach Glenda but getting pushed away out of Glenda's sight, trying to get help from her, because she is considered their good witch now, the person who can help them, and maybe a proxy between themselves and the wizard who they never get to see. But we don't really see her doing much interaction except for being encouraging by having events for herself, for the people of Oz and the Munchkinlanders, especially. She hangs out in Munchkinland a lot. She doesn't seem to be too fussed about them. Neither is Elphaba, really, too fussed about them after Governor Throp makes it not possible for them to really leave without permits from herself, just in order to keep Bach around. I really like that scene, but I do wish that, again, time had been passing earlier so we could see how drastically their relationship had changed now, because we do go right from her father's heart attack to her trying to hold on to Bach. So one thing I've always hated about the play is in For Good, when they're singing and Elphaba does an apology first about the things you blame me for, you know, and then Glenda comes in and say there are things that there's blame to share. And I just remembered, well, watched again tonight, that the first thing Nessa asks for when Elphaba reappears is an apology for leaving her behind and having her deal with stuff. So I guess that's why in For Good is to apologize to Glenda, because she's also going to be leaving her to do lots of things on her own, and that probably kind of stuck with her from what her sister had said. I love this Bach turning into a Tin Man scene. It's one of my favorite ones, but I do wish it had been longer. The Wicked Witch of the East, it was so good. There's both singing and her performance of it, as well as Bach's horror, disgust, and confusion. But yeah, the Wicked Witch of the East song could have been longer. And I also wish Elphaba would have looked more distressed on her way out the door after she had turned Bach into the Tin Man. She was just like, I gotta go. I gotta see the wizard. I've done as much for you as I can, Nessa. I wish she would have either been angrier or just more distressed looking. Maybe her hair out of place, so that when she does see Glenda again, she's on her way to the wizard, but she sees that the lights are on in Glenda's apartment. So she stops by. I kind of wish she would have looked a bit of a mess, so Glenda would have asked, "Are you okay? Like, what's wrong?" I feel like that would have added a little bit more emotion to the movie. And then we get to where Elphaba is trying to ask the wizard to come clean to everybody. It's like one of her biggest plans. In the book and in the movie, we can see that Elphaba did a lot of talking but never really planned to act. That's where we see scenes like the rescue of the cub, where she's talking about they should do something, but she never really planned to do anything until Fiyero got up and got the lion. In the book, we see her encouraging people to do things that she's too shy to actually do herself, because she'll say something and then she'll sort of squish herself back or hide. Like, she did a good job of portraying that side of her character into the movie rather than the angry, shouty one that a lot of people do on the stage play. In the book, she's actually not really into actually doing something. After she goes to visit the wizard for the first time in the book, that's when she realized that she probably actually has to do something, but she's not that good at getting anything done. And in the movie, she's the same way because all she was planning to do was maybe talk. But when she goes to see the wizard and sees what's actually happening, and she accidentally does that to the monkeys, she's like, oh, maybe I should actually do something, but she doesn't know what to do. And that's why we get what we get in the movie, where you're like, why isn't she making better plans? It's because she doesn't really she doesn't really know what to do. To expose the wizard is literally to get him to say he's not as powerful as everybody thinks he is, or to like write in the sky that he's lying. Like, she doesn't really have a plan. She didn't have a plan where she jumped off the tower at the end of Defying Gravity, and she doesn't have a plan now. But he's like, nobody would believe us. So I just wish she looked a little more haggard in that moment, so that when Glinda comes in with the wizard trying to convince her to give up this plan that she has, we'd see a little better about why she's more willing to give it up, because she so desperately wants to be brought into the fold again, to have people around her again, and not to be on the run. Some people act like they can't see it, but all Elphaba has ever wanted is someone on her side, because she sings that in Wizard and I. Yes, she imagines being accepted. She imagines having celebrations thrown for her, but she imagines doing that with someone else, like whether it's the wizard or, you know, she just imagines having her powers celebrated, but also that somebody else is there beside her. One short day, she's like, you and me are gonna be moving to the city, her and Glinda. And in Defying Gravity, she's like, you and I can be Defying Gravity, like we can work together and get something done. And then when all of those things aren't working out, in movie 2, we get to her trying to convince Nessa to help her, because she's like, you're powerful now, we can work together, we can get this done. And once that doesn't work out, she's like, I'll go confront the wizard. But first she stops by Glinda's house. She wanted to see her one more time. Like, that's why it was even more effective with the wizard trying to convince her to come to his side, because that's what she's always wanted, because that's why Wonderful was working on her. And especially once Glinda showed up in the song, As Long As You're Mine, like, we can really see that longing fulfilled, that she's got someone on her side and with her, making all these big mistakes on her own with no one to comfort her. It just feels really crappy in this scene that Glinda is trying to convince her to come back to the wizard after everything they've done to her these past few years, well, past year, based on this movie. Oh, and I also wish that when she asks that the wizard frees the monkeys and he agrees, and he gives her the key to open the cage himself, but then Chistery points out that there are actually more animals being kept in cages down below, and she sees Dr. Dilliman there. Oh, I wish we would have seen, like, maybe her hair twirling in fury. Just like, I just needed more movement in this movie. Just more movement, and her looking more of a mess, because this is the second time that he's almost pulled a fast one on her. So I feel like she should be even more angry in this sense, and not just, I mean, she did try to kill him with a broom to his throat or whatever she was about to do. But then Fiyero pops in and he runs away with her, leaving Glinda behind, as well as the wizard in a cage by himself. And then we get As Long As You're Mine, which is one of my before that, of course, we get Glinda telling the wizard and Madame Marble to use Elphaba's sister as bait to capture her. What an awful thing. Just because your man ran away with her, have her captured by people who would keep animals in cages. Like, what do you think's gonna happen to your friend? But whatever, Glinda. Anyway, we get As Long As You're Mine. And at first, like the first time I watched this movie, I was like, I wish we had more chances for Fiyero and Elphaba to have a conversation. But watching back, I was like, this is their conversation, As Long As You're Mine, where they're sort of like in her space. He's looking around at seeing how she's lived all this time, and he goes up to her and like he puts his hands on her shoulder and she walks away. Some people don't like that she walks away, but I kind of like that she did. She's going to put on her more comfortable clothes, taking off this big coat that she uses to fight, and she puts on this soft little knitted sweater. And she's like, kiss me too fiercely, hold me too tight, like all of these things that she's been imagining with Fiyero possibly all this time. And she's like, am I dreaming? Tell me that you're really here, and things like that. And then we see him over looking at these posters that have shown her as this caricature. And the first thing he does is turn to her while she's in her soft little robe, looking all vulnerable, is, you're beautiful. And then they have that conversation where he teases her a little bit like he did in the forest, and he like even makes some of the same faces. So it's just like a teasing conversation, and then they're singing together about the things that they want and want to do to each other and want to be together. And she floats like she did at the end of Wizard and I, when she was happy and, like, you know, one of her best moments in her life. Madame Morrible had finally accepted her, so she floated a little bit at Wizard of I, thinking about how somebody would finally be on her side. And that's what this is for her as well. Fiyero, somebody that she likes, is on her side. It's something that she's always wanted, is just somebody on her side. Anyway, but yeah, they float to her bed, and then they have their little, for the first time I feel wicked, then, you know, it's so cute. And then we get to Madame Morrible making her tornado to kill Nessa, who's out looking for Bach. This is one of the most awkward transitions of the movie. I really do like the flashes of Elphaba seeing her sister in danger, and she rushes through the storm in order to get to her. And it's like nighttime, and she's on her broom, and it's like all this dark, stormy weather. But then we get there, and it's just this really brightly lit scene. Dorothy is walking off, and I think it's really weird that they don't show Dorothy's face, and I feel like it becomes even more of a problem the more you watch the movie and the further you get into the movie without seeing Dorothy's face. This was a great opportunity to keep movement in the movie, because we had this big cyclone, this tornado, and Elphaba shooting toward the event. And I feel like we should have brought in elements of The Wizard of Oz, where they're sending Dorothy away with like this big party and dance number, and Elphaba kind of crashes that because her sister is under that house. So it's even more of an opportunity to see more characters in the movie, more people running around scared and terrified about what she's about to do. Maybe even she sends off some kind of magic to make people scatter so that she'll have this moment alone with her dead sister. You get to actually see Elphaba see Dorothy with the shoes, but what we see is Dorothy walk away, Glinda kneeling beside the house, and then Elphaba, after a few seconds, saying something to Glinda. Like, we don't even really get to see her see Dorothy with the shoes or anything like that. And I just wish that all of this motion was still going on, like people scattered, scared, running, and maybe she doesn't like get to confront Dorothy there, but she at least sees her walking off with her shoes, and this would make the confrontation between her and Glinda even bigger. Another thing that really bothers me is the monkeys coming in with Fiyero, because they don't exactly work for her at this point, but they have given up hanging out with the wizard, so they show up with Fiyero to help rescue Elphaba. I just feel like it looks weird when she flies off on her broom and all the monkeys fly off too, but later in the movie we see two monkeys pick up Dorothy and bring her to Elphaba. So you watch that and you think, why couldn't the monkeys have grabbed Fiyero and brought him along with Elphaba? Or you think back to the beginning of the movie when Elphaba shows up and fights all of these people who are forcing these animals to build the yellow brick road. You think back to that and you're like, why couldn't she have done some of that fighting that she did there with these guards here? Yeah, it would have really intensified if she finally thinks that her and Fiyero are safe once they've escaped the guards, you know, once they've gotten away from Glinda and the guards, and they're get a peaceful one more day, and she's probably all relaxed and happy, and she comes back and maybe finds scraps of his clothing around, like where he's been pulled into the woods, and we get to see her crashing out, looking for him, starting no good deed. We see her on her broom, we see her with the monkeys, and we see her like trying the spell, whatever she can do to find him and make sure that he's safe, especially with the monkeys there to assist. I feel like the monkeys being there weakened that scene quite a bit and the drama of it, but No Good Deed is still so freaking good. So freaking good. But yeah, if they had done what I wanted them to do, like during Everyday More Wicked at the beginning of the movie, like if they had been showing time passing and Elphaba like messing up things that she was trying to make better, No Good Deed would have hit even harder, because we'd be like, yeah, every good deed she tries to do really does go wrong. but I do like the flashes that we had during that performance. And it was just so good. And then she goes straight into asking the monkeys to capture Dorothy. I kind of wish she would have confronted Madame Morrible first. This is something that my sister has said as well, but betrayed her the most because she was the one who made Elphaba feel accepted. And then she was the first one to make that speech to make everybody else hate her even more. And she's the one who says something every time Elphaba shows up, like, the Wicked Witch is here, she's trying to kill us. It's just really weird to get into the second movie, and Elphaba doesn't really have a scene with Madame Morrible at all. And another thing, when they're singing For Good, I'm kind of skipping past. Oh, March of the Witch Hunters. That should have been longer. We should have cut Girl in the Bubble, because all she's doing is realizing things that she already realized during that middle section of, couldn't be happier, when she realizes a bridge that she crossed can't be uncrossed sometimes. We can see her distress during March of the Witch Hunters. They can keep that in, but take out Girl in the Bubble. It's not necessary. And plus the lines are repetitive of her like popping the bubble. We've seen her pop the bubble. We saw it when Fiyero was taken away. We saw it when, we've seen her bubble pop. So we don't really need a song about it. They should have extended March of the Witch Hunters, because Bach was killing it. That was great. We don't really see Scarecrow again until the very end, when Glinda decides to confront Madame Morrible about possibly being the one who sent a cyclone down on Nessa, and then she runs off to Elphaba. I don't know, I just feel like the positioning of those could have been changed. During For Good, once they finish the song, Elphaba is just like, you've got to hide. And I'm sitting there like, why? Because we don't really hear the witch hunting crowd approaching the castle. The letter that Fiyero sent to her through Tristery that made her completely change whatever evil plans that she had of getting the shoes off of Dorothy's feet and start pumping her own little suicide bucket of water. It may have said that they're almost at your doorstep or something, but it would have been so cool if they had Bach chopping down her front door, like make it scary, sort of like on Beauty and the Beast, when the pitchfork crowd shows up and there are people like trying to bust down the door with these big logs and stuff, and you can hear them outside of the tower. Like, I really wish we could have heard the crowd outside of the tower. And then, like, Dorothy not being seen here, everything being in shadow. I wish they would have showed like Bach busting through the door, and just a little bit more. This movie could have used more fight scenes. There were so many moments when the energy just starts and stops. But yeah, it could have used more fight scenes. I would have loved to see the melting of the witch, like the smoke and the screaming and the fake because like even in the original Wizard of Oz, you're like, why is she acting like that when she's getting melted? Just oh no, my beautiful wickedness. Like, that's one of my favorite parts of the Wizard of Oz movie, and I think it would have been really great to have seen that here, and not just Glinda's reaction to her friend being melted. And then the end of the movie is just so choppy, and they're both showing and telling us things, but they're also doing it kind of repeatedly, like the revelation of the wizard as Elphaba's father. We've seen him drinking out of these little green bottles the whole movie. We've seen Elphaba with this little green bottle, and then Glinda confronts him with the little green bottle, and then they do a flashback to him passing the little green bottle to her mom. Like, the flashback was completely unnecessary, because in the theater I was in, I heard somebody behind me gasp when Glinda made the reveal, and then they played the flashback. I was like, the audience already got it. Somebody during the editing had to have noticed that somebody would already get it with that, and we wouldn't need this flashback. Anyway, we do that. We get the wizard flying off. We hear Dorothy say, hey, take me with you. I liked that. That was kind of funny. And then we get the Madame Morrible confrontation scene again, where Glinda is having her sent away as well by the monkeys, and people who've seen her make the tornado would be like, why wouldn't she try to use magic? The other magic that Madame Morrible has used has been fairly weakish. She sort of like moves the wind around a little bit. She stops a little rainy day just a little bit. So we don't really know what she's capable of, but we have seen her bring a tornado once, but we don't know how much work that took. So I guess it's not too unbelievable that the monkeys can carry her off without any fight. We get another chopped scene where she gets dressed, she gets in her bubble, she goes off to Munchkin Land to do the beginning of the first movie. And I hate that they do like so much of it. I feel like they could have like done the toss of the torch, and then Glinda saying that she has a little bit more to say, and she says that she's going to try to be Glinda the Good for real. But instead they also put in her saying, the girl saying, were you her friend? And Glinda saying, yes, I was her friend. And they sort of go off over the tulips and then sort of bring it back. Like, that was not necessary. That just added a little, that just made the ending a little bit more clunky than it already was. And then we get Elphaba in, not Elphaba, but Glinda in her room looking at the potion bottle and then the Grimoire, and we get the little For Good song between Elphaba and Fiyero. I kind of feel like it could have ended on, I know we needed to hear Glinda say that she would try to be good, but she also has sort of already said that to Madame Morrible before she sent her off. So we could have ended on Fiyero letting Elphaba out of the trap door. And oh god, the animals popping up at the end is just, we start the movie with them being whipped and like sort of punched in the head and being treated like trash. And the Munchkinlanders are around them working too, of course, but how can the animals just come back at the end like it's all kumbaya? It would have made more sense for them to leave with Elphaba. It would have been more powerful too. What is it, my baby? Because that just seems so bad. Like, these animals were literally having their speech stripped from them with the assistance and or complicity and negligence of all of the humans around them. And they're just gonna come back smiling, chittering. Dr. Dilliman is just gonna show back up to his classroom where he was snatched out by the horns. Like, the ending is weird. Like, it would have made so much more sense for them to leave with Elphaba. And I think it would have been so sweet to see Dr. Dilliman and Elphaba leaving together, even if it was in that deserted landscape. That would have been so much more powerful. But yeah, there were some missed opportunities. There were some chances to use some more stuff from the book. And we could have completely changed Fiyero's capture scene, where if the monkeys are going to show up with him, that they all escape together, but they've somehow discovered Elphaba's little lair that she has in the woods. So they use this opportunity to spring a trap on her. So it's hard for her to use her powers to save herself and Fiyero, and he ends up being dragged away in the woods and she can't find him. And seeing her like crash out and panic and then doing no good deed would have been so much better than seeing him sort of needlessly sacrifice himself when it looks like there's every opportunity for him to either fly away with Elphaba or have the monkeys carry him away. But yeah, I still really liked the movie, and I am going to be seeing it 2 more times this week, because tonight was the second night that I saw it. And I'll probably have even more things to say about it then, and especially once I finish the book. Because like, I feel like while it was not a one-to-one adaptation, I feel like melding them a little bit more would have improved Act 2, which everybody says is weak. And I feel like they've gotten complacent with it being weak when there's chances to change it by either bringing in more of the book or a little bit more of Wizard of Oz.